Superhero Stuff You Should Know is part of the Greenlit Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Ben from Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and I have an important announcement for you guys. At the end of every single episode of Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you might hear us shout out to our fans, one of whom is Matt Herring, who was one of the original Superhouse fans. He's always given us his support, and now it's time that we support him. We've just recently found out that Matt has been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And as a cancer survivor myself, I know personally that there's a lot of emotional and financial strain that comes into that. His wife, Kelly, has set up a GoFundMe account at gofundme.com/f/Matthew-kicks-cancer039s-butt. And hopefully you can help reduce the financial strain to that, as well as some of the emotional strain that comes with that. Again, that's gofundme.com/f/Matthew-kicks-cancer039s-butt.
Matt Herring was the first, I guess you could say, true Superhouse fan. We were Superhouse at that time. You know, the first fan of this podcast and what we do here, and has always supported us, talked about us, and he's from a town close to where I'm from, and so we share that as well, and just a huge superhero fan, and, you know, nerd like the rest of us, and now he's going through that, and if you could donate just at least any amount of money to that link that Ben just said, that would be truly appreciated. Just hang in there, Matt. You'll beat this thing soon.
Life is good, but it can be better. And come on inside, buddy. Whoa, that's some great armor. Where'd you get that from? Don't know why your helmet is still on. It's pretty safe here. You're behind some guards and all that. They're pretty well trained. I just got these guards recently, actually. But anyway, how's it going, buddy?
First rule, I don't take off the helmet. This is the way.
Wow, rules already, huh? I'm not really a rule guy myself, but what brings you in here today, buddy? I've had a lot of meetings today.
I've heard you've been granting wishes to people. I was curious if you happen to know the Jedi.
I have absolutely no idea, but I'm sure they're great. Anyway, let's just get right to it. Say the wish.
I wish for Grogu to come back.
That armor is a bit too strong. It's kind of causes some interference with me. Let's put it that way.
It sounds like you're making stuff up.
Hey, it's worked out for me so far, buddy. So, no helmet off, no deal, man. But you do love your son, though, right? I mean, why just take the fucking helmet off, man?
You're saying in order for me to get my son back, I have to take the helmet off?
It's what it's seeming like to me, as far as I've seen so far. I mean, I have a son, I don't give a shit, but you seem to give a shit, so...
All right, fine. I've already done it like 3 times anyway.
Whoa! Holy snickerdoodles!
I told you look like me.
Well, hold on a second. You're the most handsome man I've ever seen.
You know, I usually don't give compliments, but in this case, I have to agree. All right, I wish for Grogu to be back.
Your wish is granted, buddy, and now I'll take your armor.
Son of a bitch, I knew there was a price.
This is great. Oh, wait, now no one can make wishes on me.
All right, well, if you're going to take my armor, I'm just going to take your son. You don't give a shit about him anyway.
Oh, wait a second.
And I need a replacement.
Alistair, stay away from that guy. He's a weirdo.
He's not going to tell the difference. He just thinks that I'm you.
God damn it, I've been double-crossed.
Next, on Season 3 of The Mandalorian, Mando takes care of Alistair Lord.
Thanks, Papa.
And welcome to another edition of Superhero Stuff You Should Know, brought to you by Superhouse. In our part 2 of Wonder Woman Did What?
Woohoo!
Wonder Woman 1984 deep dive. Once again, I am Ben, and with me is...
I am Andrew, and thanks for bringing me in, as always, Benatavius Maximus Aurelius III.
Yes, thank you.
Ready
And
to
thank you
do
for,
this shit.
Giving my Roman name out to the
Yes.
audience.
I'm sorry to give your full Roman name out, but...
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I need to get used to it. My obvious Roman heritage.
Yes.
My nice Roman nose.
For sure. You got it.
So, I wanted to start this off. So obviously, if you guys haven't heard part 1, then go back and listen to our part 1 on it, where we covered our opinions on Wonder Woman 84 and did pretty much a deep dive into all the comic book connections up through Max Lord's introduction to Barbara at the museum.
But we're going to cover something else before that, correct? Before we jump in?
We're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. So, but in terms of, we addressed this in part 1, but in terms of the answer to what Wonder Woman did.
I feel like we should just open this up again. Okay, so we're recording this before we even release part 1 of this Wonder Woman series. So we don't yet know the comments as of this recording.
Right.
So that's a thing that we're dealing with now. But we, anticipate at least some comments concerning that. And I was thinking we just kind of break it down why we had these opinions about what happened. Mm-hmm. So I can still keep going, right, Ben?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but okay. So the reason we said it was rape is because they use a guy's body. Steve Trevor's soul hijacks this body, and from what we can tell from the movie, the magic involved doesn't change the body at all. Wonder Woman in the movie says, "All I see is you," but Steve Trevor's looking in the mirror like, "Wow, look at this body." Well, isn't Steve Trevor seeing the other guy?
He is seeing the other guy.
Yeah, right.
Also, I rewatched the scene where they wake up together the next morning, where they clearly had sex, and Wonder Woman says, and I quote, "I have to investigate how my boyfriend returned in another man's body." So she knows, and she knows that after she slept with him.
It's bad. It's just bad. And look, I don't think it was. I don't think Patty Jenkins went into this movie saying, "I want Wonder Woman to rape somebody." I think it's oversight, and it's a mistake they made. But it's just the movie kind of goes out of its way to make it rape. I probably said that in the last episode. They could have had the magic. It's magic, so you can just make up the rules, and people will be like, "All right, we got a lasso of truth,
he's
this motherfucker."
Back. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
She can't be the only one who asked for a dead loved one back.
Yeah,
during this film,
appear out of thin air, and it would have been fine. But they did this body switch thing, and it just doesn't. It's like you said. I believe your wording was originally incredibly problematic.
Yes, took the words right out of my head. Yeah,
it really is, and I wish it wasn't this way, because it really just kind of ruins for me. And there's problems with the movie other than this, but it would have been all right. It would have been all right if it didn't have.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had a moral objection to something.
Yeah. It would have been an okay movie, and a lot of people seem to have not noticed this part, but it's definitely there, and people are bringing it up. Mark Bernardin brought it up in Fat Man on Batman, things like that, and Kevin Smith agreed, didn't really notice it, but he kind of agreed after. I think he was still processing it as Bernardin was telling him.
Yeah.
It's. I don't want to seem like we're overly virtuous or virtue signaling or whatever you want to call it. I've said non-woke stuff on here before, probably. We're all human, but it's kind of a problem for a superhero movie. And a body was hijacked. It's almost like fucking a coma patient. They fucked a coma patient, kinda, and it's ridiculous. So, am I missing anything?
And it didn't even
Ben?
need to be there.
Yeah, it didn't need to be there at all. It's the problem. Also, the problem is, other than it just being rape, it's so easily avoided.
I know. Yeah, that's the next worst part I think about this.
Yeah. And then we had Patty Jenkins actually addressed this on Twitter.
Somewhat addressed this. So what happened was there was a user at Dusty Don't Shoot. Who was retweeted by Patty Jenkins, and in his tweet he talked about his defense for this trope, saying, quote, "My defense of Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman 1984's usage of the body swap trope, plus a link to the body swap movies wiki linking respective people I follow." But anyways, inside the tweet said, quote, I'm linking the wiki to body swap movie genre. If you can't see that Patty Jenkins was playing with that trope and even intentionally pointing out the problematic nature that all these movies have to skirt around, then I think you need to re-examine a beloved 80s fantasy movie like Big with Tom Hanks, where he, as a 12-year-old in an adult body, has sex with an adult female, making her a statutory rapist by default. Also, 2, the movie implies that if you revoke your wish, then much of the impact of your wish is revoked. Hence, even the sex Diana had with the guy possessed with Steve may have actually been eradicated from the movie's fabric of reality.
Let's break it down, Ben. Let's break it down. Go ahead.
I have with this.
Go ahead.
So first off, he says Patty Jenkins was playing with that trope and even intentionally pointing out the problematic nature that all these movies have to skirt around. My question is, how is she pointing out the problematic nature when clearly Wonder Woman is aware of it and still having sex with Steve in it? There's nothing. There's no, like, hey, Steve, we got to get back in your body. Oh, why? Well, because you're taking over some other guy's body. I don't want to do anything to him. This guy had a life. And, like, imagine if that was part of it, and part of it was simply trying to give him his own body back throughout the movie. This movie's crowded enough as it is. I'm not saying that should have been a subplot versus just bringing him back in his own body. But if you're going to be pointing out problematic natures of tropes, then have your characters point out the problematic nature of those tropes. Don't just
they didn't say they're just like, oh, we're making an homage to Freaky Friday. You know, that's what it really felt like.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's just like, okay, so you're aware of it, but your characters clearly aren't aware of it, and you don't make any point whatsoever in the entire thing. To say that this is problematic. You're just saying it's problematic after the fact. The second thing is, okay, sure, it's problematic in Big with Tom Hanks, but my thing is, just because another movie has the same problem doesn't mean that this movie doesn't have any problem either.
Just because it was accepted you've just described what I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe the term is whataboutism. What about Big?
Yeah, you brought that up when I first showed you this tweet, where it's just like, okay, well, they're both problematic. How about that?
I know. Two wrongs don't make a right, man.
Exactly.
Like, there's a scene. I know you have more to say, but just real quick. There's a scene in Revenge of the Nerds where a guy puts on a Darth Vader costume, and this girl thinks that the guy is her boyfriend or something, and they go have sex in this super dark room at a carnival or something, like a bouncy house or whatever, supposedly super dark in there. So she doesn't know who she had sex with. This is like the same thing. Like, it's just problematic. It's they probably thought it was cute for some reason back then, but you know, we've had some social progression over the years, and you know, you have like from what do you call it, Birth of a Nation, like the extreme example, to now, you know, and of course things aren't perfect. It's a Star Trek thing. We're trying to work towards perfection. We're not quite there. We'll never be there, but we should. So it's like Superman. We'll never really be there, but we should at least strive towards it. And it's just, you know, and yeah, anyway, go ahead. What was the rest?
Yeah. The other one was on how he's talking about, well, this was all undone anyway by the end. But I'm just like, that also doesn't mean that the rape was justified. Like, just because you can undo your crime doesn't negate the fact that crime happened in the first place.
No, it's just...
But magic
that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
That is a cop-out. Yeah, I agree totally. Where it's like, okay, but so what? Like, she also didn't know that was going to be a thing. Like, she didn't have sex with Steve being like, this is all going to be undone anyway. Which she didn't know that.
Yeah, she willingly takes... And they're probably thinking, well, it's one woman's one chance to be with her love again, but it's still like you're taking that one chance to fuck a coma patient, essentially.
Right.
You know, and to fuck that body. It's like, and I think that some of this runs into people's like how they feel, how much the mind controls the body. You know, if the mind totally is Steve, is it really that body? But dude, it's still like. Take out the soul stuff. Imagine just a brain switch. Yeah. It's still that body, man. It's just like, it's just the magic only goes so far in this instance. It's just not great. The other thing too about Big is even that is problematic, but it's actually less problematic because both consent to it. You know what I mean? Like both knowingly consent.
I hear what you mean.
I mean, she thinks she's with an adult. So, and he's just a kid that I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
but I'm just saying.
Saying it's better, actually.
In Wonder, it's better because at least there's two consenting, but one's technically illegal, but they're consenting. Okay, Wonder Woman has essentially three parties, one unconsenting.
Yeah.
So it's more problematic.
Yeah. I agree. I agree on that. So, so both problematic, but Wonder Woman 84 more problematic is what we're saying.
Yes.
Just to clarify for the audience out there. And I agree with this. Again, it's just the worst part of it is how avoidable it was. Just bring him back in his own body. Why do we have to have an extra actor in here just to be a stand-in for a couple scenes? Like it's
just to have a guy smiling at her
ridiculous.
in a fucking Christmas parade or whatever the fuck that was at the end. Who gives a fuck? Like, dude, I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather just see her move on in another way. I mean, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, that's another
thing.
thing.
Make him appear out of thin air. Just make him. It's just so easy. It's so easy.
Wonder Woman is a goddamn immortal, and for 70 years, she doesn't find anybody. Versus this one guy that she knew for like a week.
Dude, Steve Trevor has one magic dick. All right.
I guess that's Chris Pine, but still.
He's rocking like Burt Ward times 2 up on that motherfucker. I don't know.
I guess so.
But, you know, I honestly, dude, again, I forgive so much. I could forgive her not getting over Steve Trevor for 7 years. I just can't forgive this stupid body swap thing. Again, thin air. I honestly think, hear me out if anybody's over at Warner Brothers, you got to re-edit this. I know that there's a it's dangerous to do art by committee. I get it. This whole like, you know, we've seen it with Justice League kinda already. But you have it's a kids movie / young adult, PG-13. There's people having sex in it. I know that it's not like Frozen. It's not like that young, but still, it's kind of like skews young. It's PG-13. On top of, I mean, even if it was rated R, it's supposedly the hero of the movie rape somebody, and you know, they just let it slide. It's just not. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think they should re-edit it?
I don't know if they will. I mean, it's just so ingrained in it. I'm not even sure how they would edit his return, because a big part of it is just them reuniting at the party. You know?
Dude, I mean, how much important information is given in that bedroom?
I know,
scene?
but it's just, how do you cut that? Like, how do you cut around that? Because
can you cut it entirely? Does it give any information away other than the body thing?
Well, it's the reunion. Like, if you cut the actual reunion, then suddenly she's walking with Steve by the Washington Monument. Like, you need the reunion scene, but 90% of the reunion scene is her talking to the other actor.
Was there a longer cut of them meeting at that dance? You know?
I don't know. It depends. It depends on that or what part Chris Pine was there for.
Yeah, right. I just think that, you know, I was never really like for. I mean, it's cool that we're getting the Snyder League and all that, but it's like, you know, that would have been fine. It would have been fine if we didn't get that. But like with this, it's just such a big error, and I feel like maybe they could do a couple little cuts and they could kind of cut around it. And there's been no physical release either, so they hope maybe they don't have to like make any recalls yet with the production. Maybe they already have some of that already made. I don't know, but it's just. I think it would do the superhero movie history actually a service to kind of redo this part.
Yeah, I mean that's the question is I don't know if they really will.
They probably won't, but I think they should.
I hear what you mean. I hadn't thought about that possibility of them doing it, but it is what it is, because like even if they do re-edit it, it's like we still know that was part of it.
But if you re-edit the movie entirely, we could say you know, stripped from canon in a sense, you know, whatever the Wonder Woman canon is, like it'd be enough. It would be enough. Dude, it's just bad, man. It's just bad.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that does answer the question. Wonder Woman did what? So
moving on. Hate to start on such a bummer, man, but it's got to be addressed, because
that's how we started part 1 as well.
Not everybody is really catching it. I did.
I was like, Andrew, what do you think of this movie? And you're just right out the gate. You're just like, Wonder Woman rapes somebody in this. I'm like, okay, we're starting that way this week.
Yeah. It kind of had. It just had to be because.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because of what it is. It sucks. I don't think I processed it entirely at first either because I just couldn't believe that mistake was made. Maybe I don't know, but.
Yeah.
It was just, dude.
I was somewhat horrified while watching. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's not good. How do they miss this, man? How do they miss it?
I don't know.
Wild to me.
You have screenwriters, you have the people doing it on set, the people editing it later. Like you have multiple people, studios approving, and not once did somebody be like, this is not good. This one part from a moral standpoint. Not just from a script standpoint, but from a moral standpoint.
And superheroes are all about morals, man. That's why it's so it fucks your sensibilities. It really does.
The whole part of this movie is about like realizing the truth and being okay with the truth. The truth is, Wonder Woman, you're really fucked up on this part. So it's a shame. Really, obviously there's other stuff to talk about in this movie on it, but which we'll go into, but. We just have to bring it up because it's just a huge oversight that we really can't ignore. So
yeah, you can't.
On to happier news. Yeah, I wanted to update everybody on the final polls because when we recorded part 1, the polls were not finished yet in terms of the final results. So in terms of what people thought of it, Twitter was just kind of really divided. 42.9% liked it, 42.9% said it was okay, and then 14.3% hated it.
Okay.
Instagram was very different. Instagram stories, only 43% said they liked it, 57% said they hated it. So
wow.
It's again still continues to be divisive on that. So anyway, let's dive into some of the comic book connections that we got here. So we left off on Maxwell Lord and who he is in the comics versus who he is in the movie, and Max gets some extra scenes as we start following his character as he goes back to the Black Gold Corporation, where we meet his son, Alistair. I was personally like, his assistant has to alert him that his son is there, but doesn't tell him that other dude is there. Like, it's kind of messy because the guy's like just randomly appears, and you're like, Simon, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, it's sloppy all around, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
So the older gentleman who's there is Simon Stagg, who is a comic book villain in DC Comics. So he is the white-haired investor who confronts Max there, and he's partially responsible for the birth of Metamorpho.
He calls him. Oh, that's cool. But he calls is the guy that calls him a loser.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Pretty much. The guy calls him a loser, a con man, that type of stuff. And in front of his son. And this is a character who's been in a lot of DC television stuff. He was created by Bob Haney and Ramona Fradon in The Brave and the Bold number 57. Metamorpho, of course, goes on to become part of The Outsiders, or Batman and the Outsiders. He's played by a British actor named Oliver Cotton, who actually was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Oliver Cotton. His name is Oliver Cotton.
Yeah, his name is Oliver Cotton, and he's English.
Oh, man.
And he also played an Air Force general in The Dark Knight Rises. He's one of the government dudes watching when Bane is doing his football stadium speech.
Okay.
When it gets broadcast and they cut off all the bridges and everything. So he's been part of the DC universe as well. We've seen Simon Stagg in a whole bunch of other adaptations. He was in the Justice League cartoon, voiced by Earl Bowen. He was in Beware the Batman, voiced by Jeff Bennett, because they do a whole origin story of Metamorpho in that, and have stuff with Simon Stagg's daughter. He's also in Young Justice. He was in Arkham Knight, voiced by Phil Proctor, and he was in an episode of CW's The Flash, played by William Sadler, who's most famously known as Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh yeah,
as well as Bill and Ted Face the Music. He was set up as a villain to go after the Flash, only for Tom Cavanaugh to get out of his wheelchair and stab him to death. So that was the end of Simon Stagg in the CW verse.
There was a time where when Cavanaugh had 400 roles in one episode. It was just getting like, I know you like that actor. We all like Cavanaugh.
Yeah, but
let's
much.
move on. This is the multiverse of Cavanaughs. I was just like, that's actually I think the season I left. I
can't blame you.
I can't take that many Cavanagh. Like I like one or two, but that's about it.
I think they should have just stuck to two. One is the Reverse Flash, and then the Earth 2 Harry Wells version was.
It could be so simple.
That's all they
Ben.
need.
It could be so simple.
I know. So, Anyway, Barbara ends up getting a whole makeover scene with the new dress, and then shows up at the party where she meets with Max. And this is what leads into apparently Patty Jenkins' favorite line is, quote, one of the lines that kills me every time is when he talks to her about biotin. He's like, biotin makes you glow like a teenager.
Yeah.
She says, you totally think he's going to say something romantic, but no, what attracts them is something else, a desire for improvement. So
yeah, they're hinting at the inherent, the sexist stuff, like, oh, you should be looking better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just always like a backhanded compliment almost, or I don't know. I feel like, yeah, that was like, well, it's not super subtle, but subtle for a comic book movie, maybe. I don't know how to say it, but I like that line too. That was all right, I wondered like how popular was biotin in the 80s too. I
didn't even know what it was, honestly, until that line in the movie, and by the implication of what he said, I got what it was. But
yeah.
It works thematically. And then Barbara and Max go over to her office so that he can get the stone. This is where things got a little weird for me, because Max is like stealing the stone and he takes it behind his back. But then like the next time that Diana talks to Barbara about it, she's like, "Oh, I let him take the stone." And I was like, "Well, why wasn't the scene about him just talking her into giving him the stone? Why does he have to hide it behind his back as he's making out with her?" That seems a little weird. Because it's almost like he steals it, and it's like, wait, no, he doesn't steal it. She just let him take it. I'm like,
no,
okay.
She's saying she let him. So
she knew that he was taking it, but then why would she?
So
let him do that?
She makes out with a billionaire, and she's she's a weak-minded character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she probably I think that you could just assume that she noticed it was gone the next day. It's like, oh fuck, he stole it, which he did, but she doesn't want to look bad and make it seem like maybe she doesn't want to make Max Lord seem worse than he is, so she says
maybe
she let him take it. I don't think that's too much of an issue right there.
It was kind of glossed over, really, and we never really see her opinion on the fact that he sort of brought her in to hook up, get the rock, and then they like have no interaction whatsoever until the White House like 2 hours later.
Let me tell you something,
I was
Ben.
like,
I can
really
forgive it.
weird. I know.
I forgive that.
You can
part.
forgive so much. Anyway, what also happens at this party is the return of Steve Trevor, which we've definitely talked about.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the comic connections, as well as the other actor playing the other Steve Trevor, who's credited as Handsome Man, but
he's Handsome Man in the credits.
Yeah, that's all he is. This guy doesn't even get a name, this man who was raped. Actor Kristoffer Polaha is his name, and he played a vigilante named Darkstrike in the old Birds of Prey show in 2003.
Well, goddamn.
I never thought that years later I would be referring to him as the guy who gets raped in Wonder Woman 1984.
We should have that guy on. Hey, man.
So
what'd you think about that?
You realize you got fucked over.
He's like,
it
was Wonder Woman. Yeah, but
yeah.
Technically you
still
weren't
didn't
around.
get the consent.
Yeah.
I also saw some Twitter user, and this might be him stereotyping on just fashion stereotypes, but the guy also read into it a little too much and thought that character was also gay. So
why? That's okay.
Because of the fashion stuff, and I'm like, that's a stretch. There's nothing in there saying what his sexuality
that reveals
is.
something weird about that guy.
That guy, yeah,
yeah,
I agree,
about the
I
actor
agree.
himself. That's a lot of straight dudes dress like that guy. I feel like, I don't know, I could be wrong.
Also, in the 80s, like it was different style back then.
He's kind of dressing, especially in the with all of his different outfits in the thing, but anyway. Yeah. But in the end, when it's snowy, it's just like standard, fine, like damn near timeless kind of look, So
yeah,
wintry look.
All right, so Kristoffer Polaha is also, apparently it was implied based off a Twitter exchange with Patty Jenkins, that he was chosen because of his resemblance to actor Lyle Waggoner, who played Steve Trevor in the 70s series with Linda Carter.
That's interesting. Okay.
It is interesting. Lyle Waggoner was also the other actor who auditioned to play Bruce Wayne in the 1966 show before losing out to Adam West. So he's another big part of the comic book lore and everything. But I thought that was interesting with that actor. Again, never thought I would be referring to him as the man who gets raped in Wonder Woman 84, but that's his filmography with comic book stuff.
That's where he is now. It's gonna be it's his top 4 on IMDb.
It
And,
is, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, it's not his fault. It was sort of a big break for him, probably as well. I mean, he's not in the position to say something about. Well, he probably could have said something, but I don't. I think it would fall on deaf ears coming from him, as hierarchical as Hollywood can be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So there's a few things with Steve Trevor in terms of his history, because things get a little weird when it comes to Steve Trevor's comic book history that I thought I would address here in terms of when he's around. In some versions, it's like in the Patty Jenkins first movie where he's there in the early, well, at that time it was World War II.
Yeah.
But he's in the early World War, but then like you need to, like, how do you age him up? Or she starts out in the 80s, but you can't really have him be a World War II pilot at that point. Like, there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So he did obviously start off with her as a contemporary in World War II.
Okay.
And at some point, he was even somebody, the god Kartiga. I'm probably butchering that, but Kartiga is the god that helped bestow Cheetah her powers, but also wanted to take over Steve Trevor's body at one point and use it as a vessel. But Wonder Woman and Cheetah ended up teaming up to stop Kartiga from sacrificing Steve. So that part got solved. But
Kartiga is like a goddess, a Greek goddess. She's from Themyscira.
I believe Kartiga is a he.
Oh, okay, god, Greek god.
I don't think they're from Themyscira, but it does seem like some form of Greek god because it's the Wonder Woman universe on there. Steve was killed off at some
funny,
point.
like all the Greek stuff, like in the DC universe, that permeates it because of Wonder Woman. It's like the Norse stuff with Thor and
Thor. Yeah, I agree.
In Marvel, it's it's funny. I like it. Like, and
Yeah.
I think there was a minor DC Comics Thor at some point as well. So. Like, I don't know if it was probably rewritten after Rebirth and all that shit, but like they could have had Zeus versus Thor or Zeus versus Odin or something.
That would have been sweet.
Yeah.
So Steve did get killed off a few times in comic book history. He was resurrected by Aphrodite at one point and given the name Steve Howard.
Why?
Which is weird. I don't know.
So much better.
Should
be a Greek name.
Steve Howard gets killed off again. So
Steve Stephanopoulos.
And then Steve was brought back as a double from another Earth, who then merged with his original self because a writer named Dan Mishkin was just like, this is ridiculous. There's like 3 Steve Trevors. There's the original Steve Trevor, there's Steve Howard, and there's this double. So he just kind of merged them all into the same body and went on from there. So
yeah,
this whole thing about like Steve Trevor getting resurrected, brought back to life in somebody else's body or whatever, that's all kind of somewhat been explored.
Right.
But I don't know if it was as severe of a thing as it was here. So if you guys have read those comics, please comment below and let us know how it compares on that. I just kind of know the facts about it, but I haven't read those myself.
Okay.
Let's see. We go into Steve Trevor has to adapt to the world, and we have a little mini montage where Wonder Woman takes him around. Chris Pine at one point improvised his whole reaction to the breakdance where the guy is breakdancing and he thinks that he's a threat, and so he like backs away and tries to shield Wonder Woman from it. So that was kind of funny.
Oh my god.
One of Patty Jenkins' favorite scenes is not one of mine, where it's like Barbara is now popular at her job.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's laughing, and I'm just like, Kristen Wiig can be funnier than this. They just didn't really give her any material to be funny.
Yeah, something wasn't. I don't know. They didn't. Take advantage
really
of that idea as much as they probably could have. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it felt like they maybe could have been trying to roll the film and having her improvise, and they just picked the worst parts because I'm just like, this is whatever on it.
Not the worst thing about it, though, I guess.
Yeah, not the worst thing about it, considering what we've been talking about. Patty Jenkins said that if there was only one scene she cut, which is Steve and Diana hailing a cab outside the Natural History Museum to get to the Black Gold Corporation, where they find.
They only cut one scene.
That is why this movie is so goddamn long.
2.5 hours. Yeah, it's long as hell in the middle.
And she's like, they told me to be a little shorter. I'll cut this 2-second scene of them getting a cab, and that's about it.
Seemed to have worked for him, though. Have you seen this fucking box office numbers in the pandemic? Like,
yeah,
it was,
dude,
number 2 hit
that's not in the, there were movies that came out in January and February. You know what the number one movie of 2020 was?
What was it?
Bad Boys for Life. It came out in like early February, and it made just enough. Number one, dude. Number two, which was if it was in any other year, it would have been technically a bomb. But number two, as far as I remember, was Dr. Dolittle. Remember that shit? The Robert Downey Jr. one?
I forgot that was even 2020.
Dude, the movies in January and February got lucky as hell, dude.
Yeah, they did.
And now the Bad Boys for Life directors are doing Miss Marvel or something.
Really?
For Disney, yeah.
I guess good for them then.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But anyway, that was the only scene that was cut.
That's they're hailing a cab, and that's it. There's just like not much to it.
Yeah, she did say, "quote I cut out only parts of scenes, so maybe there's some other stuff on the cutting room floor that are like extended, but that's about it."
Oh yeah, not a full scene cut. Yeah.
No, you would think they would have cut the whole body swap thing because that's kind of or at least, and then just reshoot how they reunite. Like that would have cut down significant fat in terms of explaining that or having a bunch of other scenes on that, but.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Make it longer at the party. Cut the bedroom scene out entirely because the only information we get there is that she's raping a body.
And that he eats Pop-Tarts.
He eats Pop-Tarts. He thinks that's weird. And then, like, that's it. Like, you don't really need much. I think Patty Jenkins really does love the character, and she can't.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
She can't cut. You just have a hard time cutting what you love, which I get. But it's still
but you have to. Yeah,
you need maybe that editor that just hates superhero movies and make that person do one cut and see what happens.
You need Stuart Barrett on this. Stuart Barrett was the editor on Superman the movie who got fired like twice by Richard Donner because they just did not agree, and then later on Donner was like, actually he was right on like all the stuff, and that's why the theatrical cut is so much shorter than the 3-hour TV version.
Right.
Superman the movie.
Right.
But anyway, when we get back from the break, we will dive into the comic book connections of stuff like the Dreamstone as well as the Invisible Jet.
The Dreamstone.
Catch you after the break.
Need some adventure in your life? What Mad Universe is a podcast about the history of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, where we delve the depths of pop culture history.
Everything's the same politically, but we have ray guns.
The actual motive isn't to explore something that's, quote, scientifically possible or...
But neither is Star Wars, and I know there's arguments about that, but I would definitely consider Star Wars science fiction.
You haven't read Dune!
No, I haven't.
You can never be the Kwisatz Haderach. What Mad Universe on the Greenlit Podcast Network.
There's only one way this ends, Cal. Either you die, or I do.
Could you say that one more time?
I said there's only one way this ends. Either you die, or I do.
Okay, that's 2 ways, pal.
What?
That's 2 ways. Either option 1, I die, or option 2, you die.
I know Earth numbers. I know how to count.
Seems like you're having a bit of difficulty there. I know you were trained for war and stuff, but
where were you trained in math? In a school?
Well, yeah, I was, buddy. And I wish you had been as well. Maybe I think maybe the atmosphere is giving you a little bit of trouble. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you're just not breathing too well just yet. This atmosphere, make it to where you can't
Earth
count.
Numbers.
You just can't. It's okay. You can't count. It's fine. Totally fine.
I see Earth numbers behind you.
Where?
You see those numbers? Right there, where it says how many days left since the last accident. There's a 0, there's a quarksy, there's a numerical icky, there's a...
Okay.
I know numbers.
So, okay, yeah, we're having some major problems here. It's the number 3 back behind me. It's been 3 days since an accident, and I don't know why you're not even messing up 1. You're seeing multiples when there's just 1 number behind me, but okay. All right, so let's quit this fighting right now.
You're lying or just trying to distract me because you know I have the upper hand.
I'm going to, bring in this fandom zone thing, and we'll just put you in there for a while. It's just a little timeout. A little timeout, buddy.
But no, numbers. I know my numbers. I will count them, Cal. I will count them. I will count them!
All right, everybody, if you like that sketch right there, we have that plus news, plus we're bringing back some opinion pieces and review type stuff and all kinds of stuff in our $5 tier on Patreon. So just go to patreon.com/superherostuffpod, and if you become part of the $5 tier, you can see these new bonus episodes. Basically, consider it Superhouse DLC.
This is Dustin Lee Massey at Dustin Lee Massey from Instagram, and you're listening to Superhouse.
And we're back.
We are, and we're back to talk about the Dreamstone. So
The Dick
I didn't know
Stone,
this.
as Wolfie calls it.
As Wolfie calls it, yeah. So the Dick Stone or the
Bert
Dreamstone.
Ward's like, that's nothing.
I got a real thing in my pants. So apparently there's a bunch of Dreamstones or things that could be the Dreamstone, equivalent Dreamstone in the comics, and one of those is from Neil Gaiman's The Sandman.
Okay,
his main character,
I'm
Morpheus,
aware of
course.
that, Ben. I've never
Yes.
actually read it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're great. They're great.
You're not fucking surprised. I have the audiobook for it, actually.
Oh, the one with James McAvoy and everybody on Audible?
I've listened to the first like 20 minutes of it. It's like the most produced audiobook I've ever heard.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a movie. It's an audio movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's fantastic,
sound
yeah.
effects, music, different voice actors for every voice.
Right. Ray Porter, isn't it? The guy who plays Darkseid in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
that's cool. Let's see. It's also known as the Materiopticon, I think is the pronunciation of it. But it's
Okay.
seen more as like a fine cut gem as opposed to the Dick Rock that we saw in the movie.
Okay.
But it's still about making dreams a reality, just along with different lines. But the Sandman Dreamstone, obviously, it's not connected to Morpheus in the movie. It's connected to the different names that Diana gives are the God of Lies, Dolos Mendacius, the Duke of Deception. And the Duke of Deception is actually one of the first villains that Wonder Woman faced in 1942. So he's actually a Wonder Woman villain, this Duke of Deception.
And that's
over
what
here,
the
so-
Dreamstone idea comes from these guys?
Yeah, well, she flat out says that the stone, because the stone is related to a god in the movie, and
Okay.
she says that one of his names is the Duke of Deception. So that's a Wonder Woman villain in the comics. So you could say
Right.
that's he makes his presence at least in this movie. Who knows if they? I don't think they're really going to have plans to bring him in as an actual villain in the future. I think this is their equivalent to that.
Yeah.
So we get to that, but Diana discovers all this, and they're shocked and bring up that they need to get over to Cairo. And basically, the problem is Steve Trevor doesn't have a passport, or does he? Because he's taken over this guy's life, and that guy probably does have a passport.
That's the
So-
thing. The guy,
Yeah,
we saw the way this guy was dressed at the end. This guy has some money, looks like. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but
Mhm.
he's probably got a passport.
Yeah.
He's probably, a jet set individual when he's not being raped by Gal Gadot. But yeah, I'm sure that's possible. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't think of that. And then we get to the other territory once again that we are not qualified to talk about. It being in the some of the Cairo's.
yeah.
Some people
yeah.
have said
So
some things about that. We talked about that.
if you want to
before.
know more about that, look that up. But we won't be covering that simply because we're just not part of that thing. And
Yeah.
it's stuff we need to research ourselves too if we want to learn more about it. But anyway, just to get to Cairo though, they have to get a plane, and so Diana, for whatever reason, thinks let's just randomly steal a plane from the Smithsonian that'll have enough gas to get to Cairo. So
Is that where that was?
they're-
It was at the Smithsonian? I forgot actually.
Yeah, it was the Smithsonian.
They got a fucking runway there? The Smithsonian has a fucking its own jet runway?
It seemed like an airport, but flat out says the Smithsonian when they're on the way. So
All
I
right,
was like,
comic book
okay.
universe, Smithsonian has an airport. Fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So, but I'm also like, Diana, your response to this is you guys are just going to randomly steal this plane. And she also conveniently forgets that there's radar until she's in the aircraft. I'm like, okay. All right, then.
Or
But
she
obviously
she
this-
doesn't want to tell him immediately. She just want to explain it to him. She might have known about it, but she didn't.
Right,
It's
but that's
desperate
kind of an
times call for
important
desperate
detail.
measures.
It's an important detail considering that they nearly get killed. and
She's
she has to turn
confident
into
and
invisible.
by the way, the visibility thing. What's
Yeah.
this thing she does in the comics ever? Like,
I not that I'm aware of. However, in the comics, the invisible plane was built by Diana, but they didn't say anything about in the original comics, at least in the 1940s. But I don't think there was anything about her turning random objects invisible. That's a whole other different thing.
it might have. They probably should have. Does she do it via the rope or something? Like, I feel like it would have been
In the comics or in the
no,
movie?
in the movie. How does she make it?
No, she just
invisible?
touches it. She just touches it and like really concentrates.
I feel like that should have been done by the rope. Like, let's
or something, yeah, because it's kind of out of nowhere. Because then it's like, well, why couldn't you use this invisibility thing on so many other things that have come up in this movie? So,
or like a one-time use other relic she's gotten from ancient Greece or something, because maybe the rope doesn't have those powers. Just some other kind of like scapegoat kind of reason for turning it. I mean, it's a minor ultimately, but it's still kind of like took me out of the movie a little bit. Yeah, where it was like, okay, I'm glad the invisible jet is here, but this is really the best way that you thought we could do this random plot point of, don't have a passport for this random stranger we hijacked, and we're going to just steal this plane, and oh my god, people are coming after us for stealing this plane. I'm like, well, yeah, what did you expect, Diana? Like, that's going to happen. Dude, I do like, on a positive note, Chris Pine talking about flying and her ultimately combining that with how she keeps that in mind
cool.
every time she flies herself, superhero flies. I think that was good enough. That was at least every time she flies, she probably has him in mind, or
that's like her tribute to him. I like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why she had the invisible plane in the comics was because Wonder Woman couldn't fly originally. Right. So she needed that. And then post-Crisis and Crisis on Infinite Earths, Diana was able to fly, and that was kind of around the same time that the Barbara Ann Minerva cheetah was introduced. So this is kind of a nice mix of everything. The plane in the comics also is super fast, which is not established in this version because it's just a regular plane that she just turns invisible. But there's a little other thing that it's able to do. It also creates, it also has some sort of mental radio for her to get like telepathic distress calls from the mascara and stuff. That was obviously not in the here, but it wasn't necessary. I'm just kind of filling in details about the invisible plane that not a lot of people would know on it.
Enriching our lives with superhero knowledge.
So Diana, apparently, when she was younger, created the invisible plane. However, it could have just been her building it with materials as opposed to her just taking a plane and touching it, like in this version. Apparently, she wanted to do it because she wanted to improve on her mother's planes, which would be shot down in man's world. So that was kind of the reason why she wanted it to be invisible or transparent, was because it would be shot down and everything like that. Later on, there were other versions. There was a sentient and shape-shifting version called Wonder Dome. That's kind of weird.
A sentient, invisible
a sentient
jet.
plane. So she got her own, Knight Rider type of situation here.
Was in the 80s. It might have been. It might have been that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know when specifically the Wonder Dome thing came into play, but it does seem like it's along those lines.
Okay.
Let's see. In terms of other parts of this plane sequence, someone brought up that Steve Trevor should know what fireworks are because they were created way before World War I. So he's just like, what's that? And like, you should know what that is. Unless we're interpreting it to mean like he's never seen a 4th of July fireworks celebration, but I'm pretty sure that existed.
Does he think it's bombs or something at first?
He should know what they are, though, because they were around in 1918. There's even a plot point in Wonder Woman 1 about, like, they're hiding stuff in fireworks. So,
what's that? Burp.
And then
I forgot everything.
I think Mark Bernardin brought up, like, does this thing even, that's been in the Smithsonian, does it even have enough gas to get to Egypt? Like, who knows?
Dude, just honestly, after everything else, I mean,
it's forgivable compared to
it's a valid
Handsome
point,
Man.
but just that's something you just gotta let go, man. It's just that motherfucker has gas, whatever.
But in Egypt, Maxwell Lord meets with a man named, and I might butcher this, my apologies, Amir Saeed bin Abydos, who is apparently in exile from Bialya or wants to continue the Bialyan legacy. And Bialya is actually a fictional country in DC Comics. So the creator of this country is J.M. DeMatteis, and he made a comment on Twitter about Bialya, and here's what he said.
I was amused and delighted to see the nation of Bialya referenced in Wonder Woman 1984. 30 plus years ago, as a joke, I named the country after Bialy, a traditional Jewish bread, like a bagel, but softer. And there it is, in a major motion picture. The gods of Yiddish are surely smiling.
So, thank you very much. In 1987, it was first mentioned in Justice League number 2, which is one issue after Maxwell Lord's introduction into the comics. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, shit.
This is the same country where apparently, I think they did this retroactively, but archaeologist Dan Garrett finds the blue scarab that turns him into the first blue beetle in this country.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
we're
again,
setting that up.
Yeah, that was retconned because, I think it was retconned to be Bialya because Bialya didn't exist until the 80s. And Dan Garrett...
They're sitting on something there, man, because they got, Marvel's... They got, the first major black superhero movie. They're going to have Shang-Chi come out soon, so first Asian one. And then, DC, they're kind of, sitting on a major Latino character. Could be, another thing.
Oh, if they do the Jaime Reyes version of him?
Yeah. I mean, it's so important, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Bialya is also the neighboring country of Kondak. I might be butchering that.
Kondak, or Kondak, maybe. I know what you're talking about. This is, what's his name?
Black Adam.
Black Adam, yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
He wants to fight Cavill, apparently, in that movie.
Yeah.
In his movie.
Bialya is known as the base for the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, who went on to kill Black Adam's wife and brother-in-law, sending him into a fit of rage to go after all of them. So that is part of the 52 storyline, not New 52, but the storyline 52 in 2006.
It's time for the Age of Apocalypse.
Yes.
You need to watch the X-Men cartoon, man. Some of the best voice acting ever.
We'll cover that, yeah. Fans will also recognize Bialya from Young Justice because it shows up in the Young Justice TV show, where it's a place run by Queen Bee, and she who's part of the villains, the Light, who are
Beyonce's
the
in that
main villains of
motherfucker.
that. Queen, yeah, Beyonce.
They got the
Her
Bayhive.
name is Queen Bee. I think it's Marina Sirtis from the Next Generation.
Oh,
as Queen Bee. So,
where? When? Who? What? Where? She was in this movie?
Yeah, as Young Justice in Young Justice.
Okay, yeah. Did I miss out on Sirtis being in here?
Sirtis is Beyonce in Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, wow. That's not problematic at all.
No.
It's not the it's
second most problematic
second most problematic thing in this movie is Marina Sirtis as Queen Bey. Oh, shit. I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a problem
I don't
with
see color. Yeah.
I don't see color. That's an old Stephen Colbert joke. I don't see color.
Yeah. So big thanks to Den of Geek for that information on Bialya, because
he would have guests on his show that were black, and they'd be like, "So I hear that you're black." It's just the way you would introduce. It was just funny. It was funny.
Yeah. But yeah, big thanks to the Den of Geek for pointing out all the connections to Bialya on this one, because I didn't catch that reference when I was watching it. But this is kind of this random Middle East sequence where Wonder Woman catches up with Maxwell Lord, and that leads into the first major Wonder Woman action scene in an hour.
An hour and a half into the movie.
I forgot that.
Except for the intro, but still.
Except for the intro, I had forgotten just how long it had been since Wonder Woman was in the costume until she dons it. At this point, I'm just like, oh, that's partially why some things felt off. I'm just like, oh, it's been a long ass time since Wonder Woman was Wonder Woman. That's probably why.
I know it's bloated in the middle. One thing, since we brought the beginning real quick, the whole I feel like again, since Stranger Things, there's such an association of the mall with the 80s, and I know it was a big deal, probably and they were big in the 90s too. Look at Mallrats, Kevin Smith film, but it's still like you could have done something else. I don't know what they could have done, but it's just seems like we just saw this in Stranger Things, this whole mall obsession.
No, I hear that. It didn't have to even be the mall. Like
it's an antique store. What antique store in the fucking mall in the first place? You got Walden books in that motherfucker. You got Aladdin's Castle, old school arcades up in this motherfucker. But
there's all sorts of ways they could have incorporated that better.
I know, we're sort of backseat driving. I get it. It's very hard to tell a story. Other than the rape shit, most of this is very minor. So we just like nitpicking everybody. And I wish Marina Sirtis was Queen Bey now.
Please bring her into the Black Adam universe. Let's see. I also I like the truck sequence in terms of the action, but my problem with it from a narrative standpoint is that like all it really does is just have Wonder Woman find out that Max is the Stone. I'm like, I don't know if we needed this much elaboration on it, but I mean, it was nice to get an action sequence. So
most action sequences do not move the plot forward very much, Ben. We all must remember that. It does elongate the storytelling process, but the spectacle of cinema, Ben, the spectacle of cinema, it can elongate. I don't know. I think it was fine. Actually, yeah, that scene was mostly good. Set up I think that scene was okay.
Her losing the powers. It does kind of set up that her losing the powers. I just felt that it was a little weird in terms of like she's like we don't really know the level in terms of her losing it because she's still able to be Wonder Woman and handle herself well after that sequence. You know, she shows at the White House and sure, Cheetah beats her ass, but Cheetah was kind of beating her ass in the later sequence anyway. So, you know,
right.
I wasn't really a huge critic of them having Wonder Woman's powers, being lost. I know some people thought I wasn't super into it, but I wasn't super critical of it either. You know,
that's fine. That's fine. Superheroes lose their powers. It happens a lot.
Part of it, yeah. In terms of like, there's going to come at some sacrifice to it, but people did point out the similarity between this movie and Superman 2, where Superman gives up his powers to be with Lois, only for the villains from Krypton to show up and also invade the White House. So that's a
the
kind
Donner
of an interesting
influence
connection
is
there.
Nuts in this movie.
Yeah. I just felt like it was not nearly as explored compared to like Superman 2 or Spider-Man 2, because this movie is just full and packed enough of ideas as it is. So, let's see. But there was a time where Wonder Woman did not have powers. So this leads into an interesting part of comic book history. In 1968, she had to surrender her power in order to take care of Steve Trevor rather than join the Amazons. This seems like it's completely a regressive approach.
She becomes a spy or something?
Yeah, she learns. Yeah, she gets like martial arts training and wears. This is where sometimes you see Wonder Woman in an outfit that's not, the tiara and the brassiere and the standard stuff. That comes from this period of time, where she was kind of just seems like she's just a female James Bond type of thing, which seems a lot less interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a documentary. I forget which one it was. I've seen a lot of superhero documentaries at this point, but. Right. I think the creator of that series was he sort of noticed the error of it after it was all said and done. He was saying that like it's not exactly a progressive movement to make a woman superhero lose her powers in an arena where all the men have superpowers.
Right.
He's trying to make her more realistic, I guess. But in this fantasy world of superheroes, it's a kind of a step back, So he noticed that there were errors. There's kind of an error with that, but
yeah. So how did Wonder Woman get back her powers? And that's where we bring in
she prayed to Zeus.
Gloria Steinem.
Okay.
So Gloria Steinem had basically her own magazine called MS period. and she wanted to put Wonder Woman on it, but she was apparently horrified to learn that Wonder Woman was not the Wonder Woman she grew up with, and instead was this
That's what I'm talking
woman
about.
with no superpowers.
Tell him, Gloria.
Gave up her superpowers. She gave up her superpowers in order to be with a man. So they decided this was not good, and due to this, and due to Gloria Steinem insisting on it, DC gave Diana back her powers.
I think
thanks
Gloria
to
needed to be in the
Steinem.
writing room on this motherfucker for 84.
I think so.
I think we need her back. She's still alive. We need her back, I think.
We need her back in the writer's room
Yeah.
on the next Wonder Woman movie.
She need to take a pass at that script real quick before we get to that third one.
Yes. So, but yeah, that's solid. But yeah, there's a lot of weirdness, as you can see, in the Wonder Woman history when we come to this. So
Wonder Woman's
that
got
was-
some weirdness, and they all do, but like, you know that egg
Yeah.
villain, Egg Foo or whatever? It's like kind of racist against Chinese people. I know there's a lot of racism
Wonder
at that
Woman
time,
3.
but
Ken Jeong is Egg Foo in Wonder Woman 3.
not good, man. It's not
Did you
good.
die?
Oh man.
So that'd be terrible.
Did you die?
Did you die, Wonder Woman?
He's got like the egg.
But did
He's
you die?
Yeah. Oh shit, dude. Part of me wants it now, but it's still very racist.
I know. It's so racist, yeah.
Oh shit! But what
Oh,
if they did
man.
a non? No, they can't. I was thinking there's a way to like redo it to where it's not, but it's just so. It's like trying to make a Nazi not racist almost. Yeah. Anyway, it's
no,
not
you'd
good.
Have to, you'd
it's not
have to
good.
completely.
It's not
You'd
good
have to do a
practice.
completely other different type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we have now Wonder Woman is losing her powers in Cairo. She's not sure what to do, and she finds out from Barbara about there's more information that she can get from this Mayan dude who's also Indian, who's also a Rastafari. Somebody brought this up on Twitter.
Dude, this guy, he looked kind of white ultimately too, right? Or no?
He seemed like he was Indian, but this is
Okay.
the best part. So this Twitter user at David Chensky, I'm going to just quote him in terms of what his critique was. This he says, "Quote:
Yeah.
There's a scene from Wonder Woman 1984 where a South Asian man plays a Rastafarian who interprets ancient Mayan hieroglyphics, and at that point, I feel like the filmmakers miscalibrated their diversity and representation machine." I'm like, that is kind of weird that this dude's a Mayan with dreadlocks and his real name is Frank Patel, which means that he's Indian.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah. It's I forgot about that guy. Yeah. It could have been handled so much better.
I'm also not really sure how much we needed him because it could have just been Barbara or Diana getting the information. You got two perfectly capable people who study history.
Right.
Why do I need this?
Simplify the script, man.
Yeah. Seriously.
It's just
So-
wild. And Flex, Diana believes he's the right guy just from what? Just from hearing a description about who he is. Remember, like she kind of believes she hasn't even met the guy yet. It's
It's sloppy. Like he
I-
didn't really need to be in this.
it's weird. Like people, there's like this line you got to toe from like, okay, we're forgiving this because it's a comic book movie. Okay, we're not forgiving this because it just doesn't make any sense at all. Like everybody's going to be different from where that line is, but I don't know, man. Anyway, it's a minor. It's minor.
Yeah. It's a more minor part. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's what we get for that's what we get in terms of the exposition that we have here. But Wonder Woman sees that they have to find some way to stop Max, and this is where sort of there's the divergence from Cheetah because Barbara doesn't want to give up her wish, but we know that Diana doesn't really want to give it up either, and she even agrees with Barbara.
It's okay because
That,
you get
like,
two wishes apparently, so it's all good.
Well, also she gets two wishes.
Okay, while I was watching it,
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, she made her wish on the stone, but then she makes another wish. Barbara makes another wish on Maxwell Lord.
Max.
So I was thinking, does it kind of re-up after, But then again, he is the stone.
He is the stone, yeah.
Like the thing is, magic logic is so hard to deal with, but it is kind of like it kind of feels like she got two wishes, and maybe it's because it was re-upped after he became the stone. I don't know.
Maybe
It's weird.
And then also the son gets at least two because remember, like his son wishes, and then that becomes a thing. But then later on, his son tries his wish again, but it doesn't work because he's like, I wish you were here with me.
Was that
But then it's
like his wishing for greatness? Do you think that was a setup for a villain? The son,
like
the son wishes to be great like his dad. I felt like that was going to be like a sequel setup thing.
Alistair Lord.
Yeah. That's a cool name, dude. Alistair Lord.
That is a cool name.
Let's make
cool
him
name.
the next villain. Him along with
I mean,
Kim
hey,
Jong
Wonder
Un,
Woman-
egg food.
Did you say
Diabolical.
Kim Jong Un
Straight up.
instead of Kim
Diabolical. Well, like Wonder Woman's like the
That's
ultimate
it.
justice warrior, and like all the villains
Yeah.
are super racist.
He's just
We will not be doing a sketch on that idea.
no.
No, but that's okay. Anyway, all right.
I'll be egg foo.
Actually, I'll take all this back. I feel like I went down the wrong path. I'm sorry. I take it. I renounce it.
I renounce my wish.
Yes, I renounce my wish.
Anyway, so now we've set up that Diana wants to go after Maxwell Lord because Maxwell Lord is now the stone. Barbara doesn't want her to help renounce the wishes, but she also knows that Diana agrees with her, so don't ask me how that works. But anyway,
Yeah, right.
I think this is a good place for us to end at the moment because we got a lot of other stuff to cover for, I guess, the final hour of this movie
right.
that we got here. So that is superhero stuff you should know. All right, so let's go into the shout-outs for this week for our fans. Thank you very much for you guys who commented on it. So one of those is Captain Beastwinger. He's back.
He's back.
Yes.
The captain's back,
He said,
y'all.
with Michael Keaton probably returning in Flashpoint, do you wish it would lead Batman Beyond or lead into Batman Beyond? If so, how do you think it would work in
Everybody
the Burtonverse?
wants it, Ben.
Everybody wants it. I want it. It's like we already saw Affleck's clearly the Dark Knight Returns Batman from
Right.
the whole Batman Superman fight. We also saw Kevin Conroy as the Kingdom Come type of Superman with some differences. Of course, in the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing in CW, Batman Beyond is probably the most popular among comic fans and non-comic fans alike. Because some people who aren't familiar with the comics might not necessarily know Kingdom Come, but they know Batman Beyond because they fucking grew up with it.
More so, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's animated.
yeah.
I mean, it's a show. It's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's natural to see Keaton in a Batman Beyond type of setting. I think he'd be great for it. In terms of it working with the Burtonverse, it just depends on what that Burton Gotham would look like in the future. I think it could be pulled off. Beastwinger also says, P.S. talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths, saying Keaton captures the Joker and how that probably means there's like a second Joker. I'm not really sure if that's going to be anything, if they were really setting up anything. It feels like there was an Easter egg type of deal that they have there, because obviously Joker's dead in the 89 continuity, but maybe there's a second one they're trying to say. Maybe it's a Return of the Joker type of situation where he had a Robin who then gets his body taken over. Again, another body taken over thing of like in Return of the Joker. But it could be that sort of thing. But I have a feeling because, the CW writers are, a different creative team and they're on DC TV versus the DC films, that's probably, I doubt it's going to be something that they're going to really play along with. If they do, that's great. But I have a feeling that's not really going to go anywhere.
Okay.
Next is from, and forgive me if I butcher your last name, Adam Frakowiak. You can let us know if that was correct.
Frakowiak?
Yeah, Frakowiak. So he said this was a comment on our deep dive into the Robin's origins, into the 80th anniversary, where we were talking about the New 52 version and how in the Kyle Higgins take, Dick Grayson is on the computer a lot in the Batcave as part of his training leading up to him becoming Robin.
Wikipedia.
And Adam said, quote, "Yeah, I thought that I had the original idea for making Robin first Oracle to my headcanon, and I say it as a person who never read a thing from New 52. QUQ. Great analysis as usual. Good job. Thanks, Adam."
Thank you.
Let's see. Last one is from SDCT Productions, who had made the comment to us about how this podcast has sort of been a big refuge for him, and we commented on that in our year-end episode. He went into more details for us on YouTube, saying, quote, "Thank you for the shout-out. So I feel like I owe some additional color. So long story short, I faced some dark times in 2020, just like all of you. I have loved ones who have suffered due to COVID. I'm very sorry about that. I caught it myself and had some long haul symptoms. Again, very sorry about that. I also have health anxiety, which made this worse, so I ended up in a dark place and stopped doing the things I loved, like being creative. Then I started binging some stuff to keep myself grounded while I worked from home. I listened to the Batman 1982 episode, and Ben's passion on the subject caused two things. One, it made me want to read all of these scripts he talked about, including Year 1, 82, and Dark Knight. Two, reading these scripts made me want to be more creative. So I am trying to see if there's a project I can work on while I am shut in. I'm also reading things I have never read before, like I dug up Strange Apparitions thanks to Ben. So yeah, at my most depressed, most dark, this pulled me out. So yes, thank you, gentlemen, and hopefully 2021 is better. Signed, Jeffrey Scott Richards. So thank you very much, Jeffrey. That means a lot to us.
It does. I mean, no offense to any of our other commenters, but that's maybe the best one so far.
Yeah. Sorry, Beastwinger and Adam.
Yeah, I mean, sorry everybody else, but you know, that's heartfelt and like, you know, we, I guess, help somebody with a little bit of comedy / information through a tough year.
You know,
so,
like it's and that's really what we put this out there, because we have a passion for superheroes, obviously, and wanting to share information, but also this was a kind of a year in 2020 where a lot of people were shut in, and just to provide a little bit of entertainment and spark some interest into these types of things.
Right.
You know, was the goal, and to hear that we made that impact is fantastic on that end, and I hope we continue to do that. And we strive to continue and keep up that quality with you guys on the show. So, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And I think that is it for the YouTube comments. Over to you, Andrew.
Okay. Thanks again, everybody. So, thanks to our patrons on Patreon and to our other supporters. Their names are, as always, Kukid Hams, Matt Herring, Elijah B., Shamrock Bells, Aaron Willett, Ian H., Dan D., Leom O., Super Inframan, and Douglas P. Please join the Shasta Army. That's our $1 tier on patreon.com/superherostuffpod. $1 tier gets you these here shout-outs. $5 tier gets you an extra whole of the show, pretty much. It's our bonus feed. Cancel anytime. It's almost like $1 an episode because we do one every week. So regular show comes out on Monday. Patreon show comes out on Friday. So, every Friday. Check it out. And, again, that's the $5 tier. Superhouse merch. Indeed Man. Not Indeed Man. Indeed Wizard. Man. And then that's the next one. And then Ben Man. Characters by Wolfie. They are at our Redbubble store. So that's superhousepod.redbubble.com. So check that out. Redbubble's like TeePublic. It's like that kind of thing, if you know about that. Check that out. We have like mugs, stickers, all that stuff. So check it out if you want. And then leave us a review on iTunes. Please use your voice recorder app on your phone. Leave us a recording. It can be pretty much whatever. And then send that voice recording to superhousepodcast@gmail.com. My other YouTube channel is Thunderwolf Lives. So I actually have this time. The URL is youtube.com/user/ThunderwolfLives. And also thunderwolflives.com is my basically my portfolio website. So that's all the other shit I'm doing online that's not this podcast here. And I'm Thunderwolf Drew on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're just listening to the audio version of the podcast, we have basically a Joe Rogan style of the pod video version of this exact same thing on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube already, superhero stuff you should know on YouTube. So anyway, I think that's it for me. Ben.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Superhero Stuff Pod, as well as follow me on Instagram at BenLonWriter. We are also on Twitter at SuperhousePod. And that is it, I believe, for Wonder Woman Did What. part 2.
What?
There will be a part 3 where we wrap up this movie and talk about everything from the lasso of truth, Hysteria, the White House sequence, Flight, Cheetah, Maxwell Lord, all
good
basically
stuff.
everything else that's in this, all the good shit. So stay tuned for that.
Get
and
ready,
thank you very much
motherfucker,
for
for that shit.
Thank you very much for listening and for watching. Take care.
Bye-bye.